Gordon the King Ryan and Nicky the Black Belt Slayer Rodriguez have only ever been matched up against each other twice, both coming in 2022 and both ending with Gordon's hand being raised. The first of which was at ADCC, where Gordon won decisively with a heel hook in the final of the plus 99 kilo division after barely breaking a sweat.
And Gordon Ryan just submitted Nick Rodriguez.
But it's very easy for us to get wrapped up in how good Gordon's performance was at those championships and forget about what an achievement it was for Nicky Rod to even make the finals. The Black Belt Slayer aptly named that after notoriously beating black belts pretty much from his first days on the mat, only started this sport in 2018, and 4 years later he's beating one of the greats and Felipe Pena on his way to the final to face Gordon.
Look at this. He is over. He's going to score here, B-Mac. That is a solid pass from Rodriguez.
That's the same time it takes most people to get a purple belt, and he's already battling it out for first place against arguably the best no-gi grappler ever. We can't forget that one of the main reasons why Nicky Rod has got so good so quickly is because he'd been training with the likes of Gordon and the rest of the Danaher Death Squad for the large majority of his career. But in 2021, John Danaher announced the end of the Danaher Death Squad as we knew it, alluding to personality conflicts, conflicting values, and an inevitable tension between the team brand and the growing individual brands of members as the main factors for the split.
Yeah, there were some issues within the team. Certain people had certain issues with really one person, and I think of any you got to cut the poison out. Whatever's hurting the team or hurting the majority of the people, you kind of have to eliminate that and focus on competition.
Based on this interview with Nicky Rod, it seems like him and Gordon may have been one of those personality conflicts, which is what makes a future rivalry between the two even more exciting. So now, just 3 months after ADCC, at the end of 2022, Gordon Ryan is set to avenge his last remaining loss at black belt to Vinny Magalhaes, when Vinny has to pull out after being admitted to hospital when he has issues cutting the weight, and Nicky Rod's the one that gets the call to replace him. At first, a lot of Jiu-Jitsu fans weren't interested in this match. We went from being able to see Gordon tick another goal off his list to seeing a match we'd seen just a few months ago, which wasn't particularly competitive the first time, and it was announced on the night that Nicky was a 20-1 underdog going into the bout. But it did mean that we'd get a chance to see what adjustments Nicky Rod was able to make off the back of their first meeting at ADCC, and I think it's safe to say he shocked a lot of people. The closest we got to a submission throughout the entire match had to be Nicky's attempt at a toe hold from a leg entanglement.
And he forced Gordon to let it go.
That's a moral victory in itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he gets that submission, that would have put an end to Gordon's incredible winning streak that's lasted nearly the whole time that Nicky's been training. Since Gordon's last loss in 2018 to Vinny, we've not seen him nearly be beaten, let alone nearly submitted. It was also pretty close in overtime. If there is anyone you definitely don't want on your back after 20 minutes of grappling, it's Gordon Ryan. But as a caveat to this, Nicky Rod had been training for the EBI event that year, which he won, and that seemed to pay off with Nicky escaping in just 15 seconds into the first round.
Statement for Nicky Rodriguez.
Gordon immediately retaliated with a 15-second escape of his own.
That foot. Oh, he had to bail on it. Gordon has to free his elbow.
In the next round, the King managed to stay on Nicky's back for the full 2 minutes, whereas Nicky could only manage 28 seconds in retaliation. This meant that he basically had to submit Gordon in the last round, and this is where a lot of the drama started. Right at the end of the full 2 minutes, Nicky cinches a rear naked choke across the face of Gordon, which looks tight.
He's gonna try it! Oh man! This is big problems! This is big problems!
Ultimately, there isn't enough time for Nicky to finish the choke, and Gordon taps after pointing at the clock to signal that time's run out.
Time has expired.
This caused a lot of commotion, but as impressive as it was that he could keep Gordon in that position for 2 minutes, it's unlikely he'd get to that spot in regulation, and I was more impressed personally by the toe hold earlier in the match. Ultimately, Gordon has won both matches, one by submission and one by escape time. But the difference in the performance from Nicky Rod in these two matchups just months apart is what sets us up for an exciting rivalry that's going to last long into the future. The tale of two former teammates battling it out for years to come. We also need to remember that Nicky's been training about 8 years less than Gordon at this point, so if he can go from losing by submission in just over 2 minutes to nearly submitting Gordon in a few short months, could he be the man to eventually knock Gordon off his throne?